Mr. Sims, item number 7A, 8A, B, and C. Take them individually.
Authorize the mayor Perry shall be willing to execute a license agreement with the NOAA Preservation and Trust for a portion of Fodor Farms main farmhouse. Terms of the agreement shall include a period of 5 years with 1 2-year option beginning on February 15, 2016 for $150 per month. Second is to 60-day termination clause with written notice by either party. Third, space to be occupied by the licensee shall be agreed upon with the Director of Recreations and Parks. Fourth, the city will be responsible for building operating expenses, and the licensee will be responsible for its operating expenses and janitorial services. 7, licensee or in conjunction with the other user groups will be responsible for implement an annual fundraiser for the benefit of the preservation of Fodor Farm House.
Mr. Sims moves the item. Any discussion? Mr. Igneri? Mr. Sims, did you wish to speak on it?
No,
Okay. Mr. Igneri?
Mr. Igneri.
I'm going to comment on 8A, B, and C because they're very similar. But as I'm sitting here, I was thinking about when we started the construction on the farmhouse, and that was about 5 years ago. Back then, I was the chairman of Parks and Recs Committee, and I'm now a senior member here. Time flies, but
When you're having fun.
but this is great. I'm glad to see the house being used this way. And I know from talking to Mr. Mailing that no matter how he appeared here when he was talking very seriously, he is very excited and happy to be in that building. And I think it's a great use of the space, and I will happily approve it.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mr. Kimmel?
Yeah. You know, in 1997, I was for the first time running for the Common Council, and there was this issue of really tearing the city apart, and it had to do with Fodor Farm. There was a proposal by a developer, if I remember correctly, his name was Scolati, to build about 85 homes in that relatively small space, and it had to do with some zoning regulations and the amount of our affordable housing stock, and it was really a divisive issue, and it cut across. It was not just Democrat or Republican. Both parties were divided, and we couldn't come to any conclusion because we had a mindset at the time that, I mean, open space, give me a break. We have more important issues to deal with. And one of the early proposals, believe it or not, in the 90s that was floating around had to do with gardens and the school system. And it was poo-pooed as a joke. Oh, we can't do this kind of thing. Why this is so important, what happened is we not only eventually purchased the property, which is one of the last working farms in the area, if not the county. I'm not sure about that. That led to a whole string of discussions. We created an open space fund. We soon acquired the Crossland property in an area near Lower East Rocks and Blake, and we became much more sensitive to the issue of open space. You got to understand, 20 years ago, we poo-pooed it. There's a whole new mindset exists in the city right now, and I believe it started where we had that fight over Fodor Farm. It took a while to get it passed. I remember, Mike, you used to almost be ordered to put a line item for open space in the capital budget, just in case. We really didn't know how to deal with it, okay? And so having gone this far and to see what's there now, it's just amazing. And we've come so far in about, 20 years, basically, when it comes to these environmental issues, open space issues. The kind of discussions we have now are just a world apart from what was going on 20 years ago. And we really ought to be proud as a city. We really should be. This is terrific, and I wholeheartedly support it, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimmel. And further, Mr. Livingston?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to add my support to this. For all 3 items, I think it's a tremendous agreements we're entering into. I drive by the site probably every day, And I'm constantly, amazed by the number of participants in the public gardens, and I've been very much impressed with the work being done in the house. I give credit to Mr. Mulcahy for his vision in getting it to where it is today, and I look forward to its full completion with the windows. But I do heartily endorse the three parties that have come forward. I think it's tremendous to have this type of grassroots organization in this house. I think it's perfectly fitting and a very appropriate use of the space, and I endorse it heartily.
Thank you. Mr. Kites?
Yeah, just quickly, actually, great, everything there. I've taken several tours of the property. I mean, like, there's a waiting list for the gardens. I mean, like, this thing is being utilized. It's being appreciated. On another note, seeing the correction under number 10, that brought up a good point. Mr. Bryan had mentioned that the Norwalk Preservation Trust, and just to avoid us coming back to address this in the future, I'm just thinking, should we have to amend this now to avoid that?
Take out the %.
Yeah, I'd like to offer an amendment to
Here.
Item 10?
change item
Oh.
7A, 8A to authorize Mayor Rowland to execute a license agreement with Norwalk Preservation Trusts. And Mr. Bryan, I believe you said Inc., was there? Incorporated, okay, incorporated.
So you just want to add the incorporated?
And take out
Remove the
and.
Emerson.
And take out
Oh.
and
That's, yes.
for a portion of Florida Farmhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Kites. Any further discussion?
Should I oppose the amendment?
Mr. Sarasis?
I knew you'd remember. I'd like to also say that I fully support this completely. Back in 2007, 2009 was when I was on the council and had the honor of serving on the Recreation and Parks Committee. Mike Mulcahy had a great vision. It was nice to see things coming along, and the first plantings, I believe, were during that time, and to see how the community has enjoyed it and to be a part of it when I was off the council with special events that I worked with the Recreation and Parks Department. It's just a joy to see it coming to fruition and being an even more amazing project than when I was involved with Mike back in those years, getting it off the ground and making it move in the proper direction. Hats off and kudos to Mike. It's a wonderful thing for Norwalk, and it's going to be a model for the nation, as Mr. Mushak had mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carries. Thank you. Unanimously, Mr. Sims?
Yes, Mayor, also I would like to move items 7A, 8B, and C together.
Okay.
Authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rowland to execute a license agreement with the Norwalk Land Trust for a portion of the Florida Farm main house, farmhouse. Terms of the agreement shall include, the bullet points are noted, and also for 8C is to authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rowland to execute a license agreement with the Norwalk Groves for a portion of Florida Farm main farmhouse. Terms of the agreement as well as noted as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Would you like to comment on that, sir?
Basically, I would like, I think, again, as a lot of my colleagues had echoed already, is the property is actually being utilized in a great way. We got a lot of good nonprofits in there that's been a part of the community for a very long time, and I couldn't be happier to see these folks in there and be able to utilize this space together, and also the immaculate upkeep that you have done with the property, Mike. I have to give you big thanks for that. The city owes you a great deal for that. You've done a tremendous job. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? I would also like to commend the Recreation and Parks Committee as well as the Common Council. If you look on our agendas, you'll see a lot of the things that are happening in Norwalk are happening for recreational spaces as well. If you look, we have the Nathaniel Ely, the Ruder Court basketball court that we're working on. In the next coming budget, we're looking to put money into the grassroots tennis courts up behind Nathaniel Ely School, so that we're giving people in the city of Norwalk opportunities for recreation and open space. And it's really, there's so many wonderful things happening in this city, and we truly appreciate that. And I think we're moving forward in the right direction. Well, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of items 8B and 8C, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so carries. Thank you.